Happy New Year, everyone! We are back to discuss everything about Nintendo 2024 that we don't know, including Switch 2, any announced games, whatever we want to talk about. We're gonna be giving predictions. We'll be touching on a variety of topics. I don't know, should be fun. Of course, the key thing I think everyone is wondering is 2024 finally the year of the Switch 2? There were rumblings about some kind of successor for what feels like years at this point. This past year, it kind of reached a climax or a fever pitch, if you will, with all kinds of outlets reporting on, supposed gameplay or supposed demos of it at Gamescom, including an updated Breath of the Wild running at 4K, 60 frames per second, I believe. There have been other reports of Nintendo, I think, looking into manufacturing elements of it. I don't remember all the specific details. Point is, though, there's a lot of smoke, and I think where there's smoke, there's probably fire in this case. So I'm gonna start off with an official prediction here. I predict they're finally gonna reveal the Switch 2 after Super Princess Peach, or I'm sorry, not Super Princess Peach Showtime, but before Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. So we're looking at sometime between March to probably June, I'm guessing. We don't know when Thousand Year Door is fully launching, but that's where I'm predicting they'll finally announce the Switch 2 for release later this year.
That's a good prediction. Wait, did you say release this year also?
Oh, 100%. If they announce it this year, it's absolutely coming out the same year.
Wow. Okay, so you're imagining that this gets its own presentation then, separate from Nintendo's typical beginning of the year Nintendo Direct.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
Unless they just don't have that Direct and they roll it all into one giant showcase later on.
Don't have that Direct? Oh my
it's
god.
Possible.
Heads would roll.
Just for clarity's sake, we do know what the first half of the year seemingly, by and large, is for Nintendo. We know their game lineup, and I don't think there's a whole lot more that they can say without talking about the Switch 2.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, so here's the deal. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I feel like it's so hard for them to have a Direct without talking about Switch 2 games this upcoming year. Because I just feel like they couldn't fill one out. And maybe I'm wrong. And they could it almost feels likely that they label it a Direct Mini, and they're like, here's updates on some of these beginning titles. Here's here's a Kirby game. Here's a little Mario sports game for you, and then that's it. And then it's like, okay, next big announcement is the Switch 2. But yeah, I agree with you, Andre. And I think there's a lot of, like, as you said, smoke, but there is no greater smoke than tasting it in the air. And I taste it. All right, I feel like it is. Oh man,
are you actually on fire right now, Jake? Should we be worried?
No fire. So it is time. And if this is true, if I want to know a little bit about what everybody thinks the release timing is. But if the Switch 2 is announced early this year, comes out a little bit later this year, then I gotta say, tip of the cap to Nintendo for how they were able to run this entire console generation from beginning to end. Because if I am looking at the end of the Switch right now and we're about to transition into the Switch 2, dear God, this was one of the best run consoles of all time in terms of just constantly putting out games and sliding into the next generation as they're doing right now. Man, I really impressed.
Yeah, it was insane how Nintendo would have every month a new game for so long. It's that, you see the huge gaps in the Xbox schedule when they've bought so many companies, and Nintendo to manage to do this. It's really impressive if you think about it and you think back to previous Nintendo systems. Now, I'm gonna say with Switch 2 though, I do think they will have a Direct still, even if they might call it Direct and make it more 30 minutes long. I think they do have enough content to show for the next games to remind people about games coming out still. Mm-hmm. But with Switch 2, I'm wondering if Nintendo is going to try, I predict it'll be more towards the end of the year to give more time for games, if they're going to try an even shorter cycle of when the reveal is and when it's out. If they want to try to push that gap even smaller, and try to have that super quick hype cycle, turn around, if that works for a system. What do you guys think? Let's say less than 2 months even.
Man,
so,
I honestly feel like this system's not even going to come out in 2024. I feel like I know, call me crazy, right? But it's just part of me thinking, expecting the weirdest things from Nintendo, and partly because I want this thing to come out in 2024, but Nintendo's been disappointing me a lot lately, Metroid Prime 4, so I feel like they were just gonna say, hey, we're not coming out with a new system this year, we'll reveal it, but because we liked it when the Switch came out in March, we want to repeat that success, and it's coming out in March 2025. I would love to be wrong about that, I probably am, but that's kind of what I'm feeling right now.
P.S. Screw you, Joey, from the Love Nintendo.
Yes, exactly.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard for me to because here's the thing. If Joey, I think you're kind of right. I think a reality in which a Nintendo Switch 2 does not come out this year, it takes away everything I just complimented Nintendo about. You know what I mean? It's like, and all of a sudden I go, here it is. Okay.
Here it is, right?
It's
Nothing
like,
in the final half of the year.
Yeah, and it's like, you guys want me to spend 6 months playing Luigi's Mansion 2 HD? Got it. So that's So I think I have more faith in them just because I do feel like we have read over and over comments about them wanting to have a smooth transition to the next console,
right.
And it just kind of looks like that. It looks like they're teeing themselves up for that kind of transition. So I'm choosing to believe that they're going to do it. That March release date, I think that makes, I hear what you're saying, Joey. I think that's like a contender, right? I think when you consider like possible release windows, I think that March, April is one. I think another one is maybe like August. And then I think there's, of course, like the holiday, the November launch.
I feel like it's either the holiday or it's in the spring. It's got to be one of those two, I feel like. And I feel like economically, it would make sense for them to come out during the holiday because that's like where the big buzz happens. Everyone's just like, oh, Switch fever during the holidays or Switch 2 fever during the holidays, right? But another part of me is just like, hey, it makes sense, so Nintendo won't do it. You know, that old saying.
I actually think that isn't real anymore. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I feel like almost like publishers and should reevaluate release schedules and calendars based on like the modern ecosystem, because there definitely was a time where like all of the big AAA games were coming out like in the fall, and now that's started to change. And I think a lot of that has to do with like digital distribution and just like the amount of video game players there are. But I personally, and tell me if I'm crazy, I personally think that a holiday launch for Nintendo's next console is extremely unlikely. Because I don't think that they need that first official burst to come from the people that are like that holiday shopping crowd.
Right.
I think that you get that first burst almost automatically from your hardcore gamers, and then maybe you want that second or third burst to be in November when that kind of shopping is occurring, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying like August kind of for a release, maybe?
If I had to make a bet, I'd say August. Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm leaning. I'm thinking like early fall, late summer, early fall could work. Because I do think like the Switch did prove you don't need to have the holiday rush to sell your system if you have something that people actually want to buy. And in effect, I almost think it's almost a detriment to them because they kind of get a dual launch almost. You get the initial hype from the first launch, then you get the holiday season bump again, especially if you coincide with a new major title that people want, like a new Mario or whatever it may be, such as with a Switch. And if Nintendo can pull that off, I think it makes sense. But yeah, it's hard for me to picture it coming too soon because we know about Switch titles coming at least through the summer, and I feel like Nintendo wouldn't want to distract too much from them, even if they are still compatible on Switch 2. And I would think, especially when they want to pull too much hype away from, Super Princess. I keep calling Super Princess Peach. Yeah. Princess Peach Showtime. But then again, knowing Nintendo, it may not matter at all. But I'm not feeling it too soon. Although I know there are rumors like it's happening in the next week or so, and I'm like, I don't see it. I'd be shocked if it does. Just because I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the time's quite right at this point. But I am fully expecting it in the next few months, at least an announcement with a release shortly thereafter. Because I don't think we go another holiday season without knowing what Nintendo's next platform is.
I'll say with August, that'd be interesting. Like with kids out in the summer for school, out of school, will they wait just for like early September? But then thinking back, the Dreamcast was September 9th. I don't know if they want that exact same date, but
yeah. How often do consoles even come out? Have come out during that time frame?
Yeah, like I don't remember. Like I only remember handhelds potentially coming out.
That's what I was kind of thinking of too, Tom.
The 3DS came out in March.
3DS.
Yeah,
the 3DS came out during March or February, one of those two. That's why I feel like it's like if you're gonna launch a console, it's gonna be during the holiday-ish season, October, November, or the spring season, February, March. Because
Yeah,
I
but
feel
the
like
March thing, you know, like, it only
you know, it's
seems
coming
like a
out
good
March 2024. Calling it now.
it only seemed like a good it only seems like a good idea because the Switch was able to, you know what I mean? The Switch was so successful.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much that really factors into their decision making. I kind of agree with Andre, just kind of like looking at the release schedule. I feel like there are just too many titles for them to be talking about a Switch 2 before some of those have at least sold. Really for me, the weird one is actually the Splatoon DLC. I'm like, I weirdly see that as like we got to get as many of these Switch people, and then once Splatoon's out of the way, then we'll talk about Switch 2. I don't know why.
Yeah. Joey, I'll argue that maybe Nintendo did want it in March 2024, not 2025, but just couldn't make that, and that's why we'll likely see it later in the year. That's
For sure.
what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
It's actually pretty impressive, like, you know, for how much smoke there seems to be, just also how little we know about any of it. Like, not a ton of it has been substantiated, although there does seem to be, you know, heavy implications that will have some form of, you know, what was it, AI upscaling in the form of, what did they call that?
DLSS.
Thank you, DLSS. You know, possibly 4K, which does seem to be, that, I mean, honestly, I'm not disbelieving the rumors, but that will be a big step for Nintendo. A 4K platform seems pretty soon for them. They took forever to get a 1080p, you know. But you know, hey, maybe that's what's happening. And but my point more is that, like, we have seen very little concrete data about what the platform even is. We don't even know what form this thing is going to take. Like, is it going to look like an upgraded Switch? Is it going to have some other surprising component? I believe that was hinted at some point in the last year or two, that it would have something new to it that we wouldn't expect. And we only have like a release window locked in, you know, or what the game lineup even is at this point. Like, the only thing we may have heard, and we only know if it's going to extend it all beyond the tech demo, is Breath of the Wild again being the 4K 60. It's just crazy. So I guess what are we expecting from this hardware-wise? Like, are you thinking it is just going to be the same form factor as a Switch? Will it be something more? Dual screen? There was a rumor of it being a patent for a dual screen device, whether a Switch 2 or something else.
It's not going to be dual screen. Throw that dream away. It's I think
it's
gonna...
dream.
It's my
a
dream.
nightmare. Yeah,
We did have the April Fool's joke for it.
Yes, true. But yeah, I think this is going to be very similar to the Switch, both in name and in form factor. Even you brought this up a while back, Andre. Nintendo sticks for their following, like, every other console is similar to the one before it. Like, the Game Boy Advance, DS to 3DS, stuff like that. And I feel like they're definitely going to try to ride that success of the Switch by making this thing called a Switch 2, Super Switch, or whatever. Maybe the name changes, I don't know, but I feel like that Switch name is just too good to throw away. They thought that about the Wii, of course, with the Wii U, but I feel like the Switch is a different beast now. Nintendo's in a much better position right now at the end of the Switch than they were at the end of the Wii. People were already getting tired of the Wii name, so calling their next system Wii U was not a great decision. But I feel like at this point, not calling the next system a Switch something or something Switch would not be the best decision either. But I think what's more important than the name is the handheld home console portability, and I think that's definitely going to stay at least.
I'll say that portability might stay, but we're going to go like from Wii U, where it's kind of in your house, to Switch, where you can put a dock to your TV. I think this one won't have a dock. It'll have something more like Chromecast, where you can just wirelessly beam to your TV. I could see something like that, and maybe support streaming a bit more, but that might be a bit too much technology for Nintendo. Although, like, you have to think, there is a chance Nintendo does not want to do a Wii U. That's something they don't want to do. That's something that they might be afraid of. They might just want to blow up the Switch name and, like, make sure it could look exactly like a Switch. They might just want to call it something totally different, so there's no mistake that it's like some accessory for the Switch.
That's why PlayStation's naming convention is just the best. It's just very clear which one is the new PlayStation. There's no confusion at all about that, and Nintendo may want to take a page out of their book. Probably. We'll see. Jake, do you have any thoughts on what the Switch is going to be?
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like I could argue so well for either side of this. It's because I get it. I understand. I think for me, the more aside from the name, And the name I think works because unlike any other Nintendo console, it's descriptive of how the system works. And I don't imagine them dropping the hybrid nature of the console. I find that to be the most, I would lock that in for sure. So I think the more interesting question for me is, will there be a gimmick to this console that does not already exist? Are we looking at a Switch that is maybe like Tom, I don't even think like replacing the dock with a dongle is even necessarily what I mean there. That's not
that's not the gimmick. That's not the gimmick.
Exactly.
There could be a gimmick on top of that.
Right. That's the equivalent of making something have better graphics to me. So will it look like a Switch, but it's more powerful and like is more convenient in certain ways, maybe? Or is there another thing? And if there is another thing, then I think that's where you start to go, well, maybe the name is different. Because then what does the new other thing imply about what you can do with the device that like, okay, that's the name. And I do kind of think that, and this is extremely psycho thinking, so forgive me. I do think there is a degree to which the Switch name has been so successful on your average consumer that Nintendo actually does have a little bit of leeway in their naming conventions to name a device like another verb that's like kind of similar, and people will recognize it as like, oh, like a Switch. Like, and maybe that's like psychotic, but I really believe that. I really believe if they were to be like, oh, the Nintendo Swap, like that, there's enough in there in terms of consumer recognition that it would be fine.
Nintendo Flick.
Yeah, like for real though. It's like that there's something, there's a quality there, you know? Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends on how much of a different ecosystem Nintendo is going to treat it as. Like, if it ends up being incompatible with the existing Switch, that actually makes a lot of sense. You want that clear separation. I think that'd be a bad idea from a business perspective if it's not compatible with the existing Switch software. And I still can't imagine them like just throwing away the Switch name, their most successful platform ever, basically, and not attempting to do something more with it, unless as an add-on, like, you know, Switch Flip or Switch whatever, you know? Because I feel like, I think there are people out there who, you know, Nintendo's name is obviously synonymous with video games, but I'm sure there are people out there who recognize the Switch more by that name than Nintendo. It may not be a ton of them, but I'm sure there are some of them. Yeah. And I just don't know why you would want to throw away that recognition. Again, assuming it's a continuation of the Switch line. If it isn't, then yeah, all bets are off.
I just keep imagining like the reveal video, and it's like, oh, Nintendo Switch games are compatible on this, and on this you can slide them, you know, and it's like you know what I mean? Like, yeah. there's something there that I'm like, so I guess the name the console will inform the name. The name will not inform the console. I think like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's a Switch 2, I think they'll probably call it a Switch 2. I mean, but if it's not, then I actually do think they will go with something else.
I think it depends, you know, there was a good point to this, actually, I think. I guess it really comes down to, is the Switch style of gameplay being able to swap from, you know, playing at your home to on the go, if that's still a compelling reason to pick up a system. If it is, you probably want to keep that name. If it isn't, then, you know, if it's been diluted by all these other competitors, then maybe it is time to focus on another element of the system.
That's a good point, because there are more things than ever that can switch.
Yeah.
Whereas when the Switch came out, it was the only one. So yeah, that's a really good point, actually, and I think you might be right. Because now it's almost like the ability to switch isn't as novel or interesting as it once was, for sure. But anyways, to kind of redirect this, does anybody have any ideas about what a new gimmick could be? Do you have a vision in your head for, like, I kind of think Nintendo is going in this direction?
Here's a really good gimmick. Oh, you ready?
Better
buckle up.
graphics.
I know what it is. I know.
I don't think you do.
Okay.
Joy-Con sticks that don't drift.
Okay.
What'd you think it was, Andre?
No drift should be its name.
Right.
Yes.
You try to play Mario Kart and you're just like, why isn't it working, dude? It's
honestly, Jake, I've been thinking about this. I honestly don't even know what the gimmick could be. Like, yeah. I feel like almost every, we've seen almost every form of controller gimmick there could possibly be, and, you know, with VR already offering, you know, additive ways of interacting with games, and with the Switch 2 presumably not being VR focused, Like, I don't even know what it could be. Like, I just keep going back to that Sakurai video recently about, like, the scroll wheel triggers. I'm like, yeah, sure, that'd be neat. Why not? You know, that seems like that'd be a good idea there. But honestly, like, I just want something that gives me easier access to inventory, especially after Tears of the Kingdom. Like, if they can figure out a better inventory management system, if there's a new way of doing that via the controls, great, sign me up. Other than that, I don't know what other gimmicks there could be. Like, they've done motion controls to death. They could make those better. Could they add another button? More buttons? I don't know, like dials?
And that's the thing, right?
Wheels?
That's Nintendo's. It's just like what Nintendo is gonna do is not something we should be able to predict. It should be something out of left field. I would not have ever predicted the Joy-Cons. Not a day in my life. Like, seriously. Now they're just like happenstance. Just like now another more portable. Is it the Lenovo Legion Go does those now too? Very similar sort of devices. Yeah, that's the thing. It's tough to predict Nintendo because a part of me thinks there's not even going to be a new gimmick. Part of me thinks this really is just going to be a more powerful Switch, which I'd be fine with, but I also do like that creative side of Nintendo that does things that no other console manufacturer is doing. And whatever it is, I can't predict it. I really cannot.
I kind of think we're bringing back dual screen gaming. I think we're bringing it back.
That solves the inventory. Inventory can go on the second screen.
I know, but it's so stupid, right? Because you have this dumb console where they go, we can't figure out how to make this cool. We can't figure out how to do these two screens. But then you have 2 generations of this handheld console where they're gods at doing the 2 screens. So like, I don't know. I kind of have this vision of, we see the new console and it is immediately clear to us that you can play DS games on that thing. Yeah.
You could beam the top screen to your TV. Bottom screen would be great for games like Mario Maker. Actually, being able to use your finger.
I agree.
Stick,
That's what I envision too, Tom. But I think the real clever thing is that I think there's going to be a way to. That's like you're at home, how you're using it. It's kind of like a Wii U in that sense, but I think that there's going to be a way to do dual screens tabletop mode. Something about this console is you're gonna be able to get a second screen out of it, and I don't know how, but I really kind of think that that's the direction they're going to go. I think that there is going to be a clear and obvious enhancement to tabletop mode specifically.
It's just so interesting to think about, because dual screens, on the one hand, like, largely saved Nintendo with Nintendo DS, and they almost destroyed them with the Wii U. But if they did actually have, like, dual screens for the portable mode, that would solve one of the Wii U's issues, one of the Wii U's many issues, in that, like, the styles of gameplay were incompatible. You either had the dual screen set up on the TV and the gamepad, or you had the one screen set up on just the gamepad, and this would resolve that if you docked and you still have the handheld component for the other screen, or you have both right there. But, then you look at the added cost it's going to add. That's 2 screens, 2 batteries, 2 wireless chips required to handle all this, at least. And it's like Nintendo is often very economical in their approach to gaming when they can be. And it's like, does that make sense for Nintendo? Especially if that could possibly compromise people buying an additional system. For instance, if you had one system already fully capable of 2 players playing on their own independent screens, why buy a second system then, And I don't know if Nintendo would want that. But I don't know. Jake, they've done more insane things, and, I'm having trouble picturing any other kind of gimmick possible here. And I'm already seeing, like, the logo with, like, the, screen involved with the Joy-Cons docking on it. I don't know.
Stay with me. I know how stupid this sounds, but I think that there's a way to make it not stupid. So, like, imagine you have, like, I don't know, like any kind of clamshell handheld, like a 3DS type thing, but it looks more like a Switch. And imagine that screen on the top can go all the way around. So when you put it down, there's yeah. And so now there's a screen facing the person across from me and me, and
you like Battleship.
I totally see this as like a look at this new mode of play you can do with somebody else in the room with you. It's like split screen, but you can't see the other person's screen. It feels like a thing Nintendo would go, oh yeah, we gotta do that.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, I just want to see this thing. Like, what is it? Is it just upgraded Switch? Is it something more? I don't even know. I don't even know what I want, honestly. Like, I just want something to play games on. So like, I don't know if I need a gimmick, but hey, if they deliver a gimmick that is fun and adds to the gameplay, I'm all for it. I just don't know what that's going to be, but maybe, if it's 2 screens, maybe that is it, Jake. I mean, I do think there were a lot of unexplored ideas, especially on the Wii U, because they couldn't explore them without compromising part of what the system was with the off-TV play. So hey, if they went back in that direction, that would be something. So
I would love to see a radical reinvention of the Joy-Con, by the way. I'm always somebody that kind of wished that like there was a version of the Switch that wasn't the Switch Lite, but it was all one body and you didn't like take them off, just because I don't know, that something about that handheld solid feeling I was always attracted to. So I'm curious if there's anything in the Switch 2 that will make it like a more attractive offering as a handheld. Just because that's how I really like to play the Switch, so. Yeah.
All right, let's talk more predictions. What is a system, assuming it is launching this year, what is it launching with? I want predictions for launch games on the Switch 2.
Oh, this is easy. 3D Mario. New 3D Mario.
3D Mario?
New
Think so?
3D Mario. Oh, yeah. I do think there's a chance that this is a cross title, but I don't think it will be. And I mean, I just feel like they came out with their new 2D Mario. I feel like since Mario Odyssey, they've been cooking on something new. And it's been so long since that game came out. That was a Switch Year 1 game. So I think it just makes sense to have a Switch 2 Year 1 game, new 3D Mario.
Jake, I totally agree with new 3D Mario, only on the new system. I'm going to argue, though, you said not a cross game. I'll say it's a different type of cross game. It's a Mario and Donkey Kong adventure to build off the new Donkey Kong ride, Mario and Donkey Kong getting together in the movie, and re-releasing Mario vs. DK. I think, like we heard rumors kind of both. I think it's just going to be like a fusion of both gameplay together somehow. It'd be nice if it's 2 different ones, but that's going to be my guess.
Wait, and then you fold your Switch over, and one person's playing as Donkey Kong, and the other one's playing as Mario.
There you
and
go.
You're running around together.
There you go.
I love that, Tom. I think that's a great prediction. I feel like I am thirsting for a 3D Donkey Kong. I think that would be so much fun. And like watching Mario and Donkey Kong interact in the movie, that was one of the highlights. Watching Donkey Kong get a fire flower, it's like, oh my God. You know, it's like, I need that. I feel like that'd be so fun.
Yeah, you mix both worlds. They could both be like better or worse at different things that each other can do. Neat little gimmicks. I couldn't imagine co-op at the same time, but that'd be something else.
Hey, that's part of the gimmick, though. That's part. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's a launch title. Yeah.
And it has been almost a full generation since the last full proper 3D Mario, if you don't count Bowser's Fury. So we are overdue, and if there's a DK component, hey, that sounds amazing.
Yep.
But Joey, what do you think for launch titles?
Launch titles, everyone talks about it. Metroid Prime 4. Part of me is just mad because it's just like, you announced this game in 2017 and now you're telling me I have to wait until the Switch 2 comes out to play it. Great. I know it's not confirmed it's going to be a cross-gen title, but I feel like at this point it has to be, because it's just been so long. And that way I feel like you can get the hype of a new Metroid game with the hype of a new console. I feel like that would be better sell it. A lot of people tell me it should just be next gen only, and I just completely disagree with that. I feel like there's a lot of people who actually did buy their Switch for Metroid Prime 4, and a lot of them are not going to be able to afford a new console when it comes out. So I feel like it would be just kind of scummy to to not release it on the system you announced it for. And unless it's like for some reason this thing's in development hell and it takes like 10 years to come out, then maybe you do release it exclusively on the Switch 2. But if the game's almost done, which rumors say it is, then like I feel like cross-gen is like the perfect situation for it. Yeah.
I've been thinking about Metroid Prime 4, and because I kind of think it's going to be a cross-gen game too, and I've been asking myself, as somebody that's like not really super into like the Metroid franchise, like what I think would just be cool to see. And Joey, tell me if this is like incompatible with your Metroid dreams or not. But like when Tom was talking about it being like a dongle for the new system instead of a dock, I've been wondering in my head if that's like a way that they could make motion controls better on a new system. If it could almost have like the Wii sensor bar, like a more advanced version of that kind of functionality, since the dock we have right now is just like nothing. And with that, I just think it would be really cool to have like a Nintendo first-person shooter, a Metroid game, and be like, look at how good these motion controls are. Like, look, you're aiming
shouldn't
with
be-
the you know what I mean?
you're onto something there. It shouldn't be a requirement, I don't think.
Right,
Like,
of
it
course
should be
not.
an option, right? And for what it's worth, I feel like Prime Remastered was like a good envisioning of that, even though like the IR, is it IR? I don't know. The gyro aiming rather, is not like as accurate as the pointer controls from the Metroid Prime trilogy on Wii. But yeah, I feel like you're onto something there. I really do like gyro aiming in my games. Like it actually annoys me that the PlayStation 5 controller has like gyro, but not every game utilizes it. Yeah, I think it'd be cool to see like on Metroid Prime 4. Just show me what the game looks like. We're coming up on 7 years since its announcement, 5 years since its reboot. Come on, I'm annoyed, as you can tell.
We're literally weeks away from the 5-year anniversary of the video.
Yes.
Another video of that. No, I'll completely agree with Jake there. Joey, you said fix Joy-Con drift. For me, I'd love to fix the motion controls and like being able to know where you are, make that closer to perfect. That would be one thing I'd love to see with the new system.
Dude, pointer controls are low-key something that's like been lost to time that was really good. And
they were awesome on the Wii,
and it's funny, you get games like Pikmin 4, and I definitely have that moment where I'm like, oh man, kind of wish we still had that little, just pointing on the screen, And like same with Joey, like you were saying with like the Metroid Prime, like the remastered games, having that on Wii. So yeah, if there's like a new way to bring that in, that would be really cool, and I feel like Metroid's just like a really nice balance for that. But Joey, like you said, I think one of the beauties of the Switch is that you're getting that same experience handheld as you are docked, which is funny because I remember like talking to my brother about this when the Switch was announced and being like, that is so awesome because it means they can't make gimmicks mandatory. You have to be able to play every game with just the buttons handheld, which is such a great like little like safety net, It's like, all right, Nintendo, relax, don't get too weird, So but yeah, so like making sure you could still do like dual stick like normal stuff because every so often that's just how you want to play a game. So yeah,
for sure,
totally.
Yeah,
I think I will officially predict that. I think Metroid Prime 4 will be a launch title for Switch 2. It'll be cross-compatible though, kind of like Breath of the Wild was, despite being separate SKUs in that case.
Right.
And I think this is a great opportunity for it to, get that early, that new hardware momentum, get more people exposed to Metroid Prime, while also being able to cater to the existing massive demographic on the Switch. And it's going to be a showpiece no matter how you play it. Like, Metroid Prime Remastered already looked amazing. And I think Metroid Prime 4 being, built it from the ground up for Switch or Switch 2, I think it just could look amazing and really showcase what the Switch 2 can do. And hey, if it's 4K, Metroid Prime 4K, there
in
you go.
2024. Yeah. And I hear a lot of people also say like it should be a Switch 2 only because the current Switch is just going to hold it back. And I'm like, you don't even know what the game looks like.
Yeah, listen, I can play The Witcher 3 on my Nintendo Switch or on my ultra powerful PC game, and it doesn't. You just, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's like, yeah, you can build a game a certain way that you scale it. Yeah, obviously.
Like, did it affect PlayStation 5 games that could be on PlayStation 4 too? Like, maybe a little bit, but I think it's different when it's on different platforms sometimes. If they're not like entirely like a PC, but
I mean, go on, Tom.
I was going to say one prediction for this. Do you think they'll release Prime 2 and 3 at the same time then, or earlier on Switch?
I hope they do at the same time, earlier on Switch, I think.
Yeah.
I really hope they do. My nightmare scenario is like, Prime 2 and 3 are as good of remasters as Prime 1, but they release them year by year. So 2024, it's Prime 2 remastered. 2025, Prime 3 remastered, and then finally 2026 is Prime 4. That is my nightmare scenario. Like, please, God, I'm tired of waiting. I know I sound impatient, but like, dude, I'm just so tired of waiting.
Oh, it'd be so funny though, Joey. I'm sorry, it would be funny.
Funny for you, Jake.
and if they had like a Mercury Steam next 2D Metroid before
6.
2.
Metroid Dreader.
Metroid 2 Dread, 2 Dreadius.
I've got another launch prediction here. Okay. So Nintendo typically launches with 2 titles. There's a few exceptions, usually 2. You have the one for the hardcore audiences, then you have one for like the more broader demographic. Maybe the blue ocean type of people, if you will. That's why I'm predicting. It's weird to consider this game that, but I think it is at this point to a degree. I predict that Mario Kart will launch with the next system. A brand new Mario Kart riding high off the Booster Course Pass DLC. It's obvious that's not all that team's been working on. And especially after the Mario movie segment as well, the Super Nintendo World ride. being Mario Kart based. I think they're going to launch with Mario Kart, which is arguably one of their biggest games at this point, and it'll just continue to sell forever.
Andre,
So,
the
Mario
fact
Kart
that
9 to
you
10.
think that this is possible is making my head spin. I can't take anything for certain anymore. Because I figured I would bring this up and you'd laugh in my face. You know what I mean? So oh my God, because all common knowledge tells you that no, you want to sell a bunch of systems and then, you get the better install base and then everybody picks up Mario Kart. Like that's what you typically seem to think. But so to think that they would launch with a Mario Kart, that would really be like Nintendo relax. I don't know if people could handle that. That's insane. Because I honestly don't know if there's a bigger title you could launch with.
Yeah, actually.
Man.
And it'll be an amazing online title right out of the box. There's your big online game, day one. Have fun.
And then you flip it over and you can play versus against each other, each on your own screen. And with the power of the Switch 2, both are 60 frames per second. There you
Here's
go.
the thing: if it doesn't come out launch on Switch, it would at least be a part of the initial announcements. What better way to sell a system by them saying, "Hey, there's gonna be a new Mario Kart on it in the next like a month or two." After it comes out, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out a month after the Switch, or like just under 2 months. So yeah, I feel like it's possible we'll at least see something in the launch hype leading up to launch.
Whoa. Do you think they said this was good actually having a Mario Kart early and that? Man, I'm starting to believe.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
starting
I think
to-
so.
I'm starting to believe.
1000%. No, like with how well Mario Kart
Yeah.
is still selling to this day, almost 7 years after release, they'd be fools not to get it out there as
Because
early
it
as
sells
possible.
the whole generation, so you might as well
Yep.
have it as long as possible. Whoa.
Yeah,
That's a really
Joey,
good
do you remember when Mario Kart came out on Wii U compared to its launch?
Oh, it was about a
like
year
later.
and a half after the
Yeah,
Wii U came out.
So I feel like they'd want to let's say they want to replicate Switch's success, having a lot of great games at launch, and try to have Mario Kart earlier. Now, you don't want to have Mario Kart at the same time as the new 3D Mario. So let's say it does come out August, September. You want it more like the Thanksgiving time. And yeah, Andre, it's completely possible they had a smaller team exploring different gimmicks and stuff while Mario Kart Tour and these other tracks are going on. And then, now that's all done, they can push them onto the new Mario Kart to finish it. Instead of doing something like an ARMS 2, let's say. Like, they're not working on anything else, only Mario Kart.
Yeah, I'm a big dum-dum. I wrote down ARMS 2 in my predictions.
I want ARMS 2.
I want ARMS 2 as well. And my theory is that the game would be called Two Arms.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's great.
That'd be
Let's
insane.
say they do Mario Kart, though. Help build up the install base of the Switch 2. Maybe they get a chance to work on ARMS 2 after that. Or maybe they have another developer or just more teams working on it.
Yeah, ARMS is so interesting. Like, I had a lot of fun with it, but I burned out on it not too long after launch.
Yeah.
And I feel like if it comes back, it would have to be substantially different. Obviously, keep the ARM gimmick, of course, but like they'd have to do something pretty dramatically different at the same time. I don't know, it's a major new gameplay mechanic, change the style of gameplay from like I don't even know, honestly. I don't know.
Just make it Punch Out.
I really think an ARMS 2 is coming for no reason other than I fully believe that Yabuki wants to make it bad.
That's true.
And I bet you he has a long leash. Like I you know what I mean? Like I think ARMS might have done well enough that if he was back at Nintendo being like, I want more money to make an even better ARMS, like I can see that happening actually. And then again I wonder if maybe whatever the Switch 2 gimmick is or whatever the Switch 2 does really well, maybe it's a really good match. Maybe they've got something figured out that not to bring this up for the 8th time, but if you fold the system over and you're playing versus against each other, it would be perfect. It would be perfect. You're punching at each other. Come on. It'd be
Just
amazing.
as long as you're not distracted by those colored buttons. But.
Right, exactly, which are extremely distracting.
Here's
I think.
what were you gonna say, Andre?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna change the subject completely. So if you want
That's fine.
to still talk about ARMS, okay. So here's an idea for you, Jake, with the
Okay.
your little flippy screen thing.
Yeah.
You can use that to play co-op in Baldur's Gate 3. prediction time. I think it's coming.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I want to
wow.
make this bet juicy and say it's coming out launch, maybe a little bit after launch, but it'll be part of the conversation when that thing gets announced.
Whoa.
You're going to see people talk about Baldur's Gate 3 is coming to Nintendo.
That's
because
juicy.
I feel like it's money right there. It's just like that game got so much Game of the Year buzz. It was like a surprise hit. And Jake, I think you said this in one of our earlier discussions. You'd be surprised, and I'd be surprised if they weren't already having conversations about this thing coming to Switch 2, because it's already a lot of people were playing this on Steam Deck. You know,
I'm playing it on Steam Deck.
You're playing it on Steam Deck, so it's just like, why would you not bring this to Switch 2?
I think that's a great call, Joey. I think that's big money. And their previous game, Divinity Original Sin 2, already on Switch. A game that you don't think could run on Switch is fantastic on Switch. So they've got the connects. They know who to talk to. I see this. I think you're right. Lock it in. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. What if, could you imagine if Nintendo actually like helped fund Switch 2 exclusive content for Baldur's Gate 3, like
Mario.
story?
Oh man, I don't know.
They don't need it. They don't need it. I'll tell you that.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't.
Isn't there a lot of romance in there with bears? So
Well, you could be
they
a
probably
bear
don't-
or you could be Mario now. Or Waluigi.
That would be such a wow. That's a statement. That is a statement, that game being on Switch 2. And I actually think that your head's in the right place, Joey, because I kind of think third parties on the next Switch, sky is going to be the limit, because this proliferation of more of these like handheld PC console thingies, just a lot of games right now are being made in a way that they scale down really well. And like the Steam Deck is definitely a large part of that, but like the Steam Deck's going to be like a couple to a few years old by the time the Switch 2 comes out. And
Right.
I wonder how similar or different they'll be in just like general capability. But I don't think it's completely unreasonable to say it will probably be similar or more powerful than the Steam Deck. I don't think that's like a crazy thing to assume.
Oh no, I think it's a very
okay.
safe bet.
Yeah. So like, and like, I feel like my Steam Deck can play pretty much everything. So it's, you know what I mean? So I think it's just like a really exciting future in terms of that stuff, because I won't be surprised at all when they're like, oh, Monster Hunter Wilds 2025 game, that is of course coming to the Switch 2 and things like that. So,
And we'll finally get those Resident Evil games as well.
Actually, I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most exciting things for about the Switch 2 is it kind of opens the floodgates for games to be at parity again, at least in terms of release schedule with the other platforms, at least until the next Xbox and PlayStation's come out, which are still at least a few years away, going by the leaks we've heard.
And consoles really are, the games are like scaling better than they did in
Yeah, that's
previous
true.
generations. So there's
absolutely.
Yeah, and especially for a system like the Switch, which is kind of built around the idea of scaling. So the idea of like things being scaled up going into the future, I feel like this is all really coming together for Nintendo right now. Another one you just made me think of, Joey, with the Resident Evil, Capcom, of course, Street Fighter 6 on Switch.
Yes.
I think that's a shoe-in. That'd be such a cool one to see there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm surprised
I'll
it
say
wasn't on
with-
Switch 1, kind of.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll say with the Switch 2 coming out and being at parity, the only downside is if Pro versions also come out late next year. And they'll have like a jump again, but not so many games will probably take advantage of it.
I don't know if that'll
Yeah.
be as huge of a problem, because those the games running on Pro models still have to run on the regular models as
Yeah.
well. What brings it back to the scalability, baby.
Could be 8K. Let's do, it's all right. Thanks. Yeah.
All right, I've got another prediction to take us off Switch 2
Okay.
for at least a period of time.
Okay.
I predict there will still be Switch games. I don't think Nintendo's done with Switch. I think it's way too big of a platform for them to just ignore it and go all in the next generation. Because not only do I believe Switch 2 will be backwards compatible, as I've said countless times already in past discussions, I think they'll continue to make games that will work on both platforms. They'll make games that work on the Switch, and they will work on Switch 2, obviously. And I think things like Mario Baseball or sports games, whatever, anything that isn't like a tentpole title for the Switch 2 will be compatible on the previous platform, much as they did with the Game Boy Color.
I was just gonna ask about Mario Baseball. Do you envision that for this year?
Oh man, by this point it has been a couple years, right? Since almost a couple years of Strikers, or at least over a year. Yeah, I think it's possible. This might be the year.
Jake.
Sure, I'll do it. Yeah, I'm
Wait.
betting. Let's
Wait, like I know it sounds a bit like money, but you have to think, when is a baseball game best to come out? it's gonna depend on the
Spring.
Switch 2 release date. Like, if it is one that you want to do like cross-gen,
Yeah.
it might be better
Spring.
early spring, like
Yeah.
next year, or
Yeah, I mean, it could be one of the things that comes out, is enhanced by Switch 2, if at all, but they don't need to announce it. Like, that is a game you could just throw out there, and then, like, just down the line, like, oh yeah, it also works on Switch 2 with, with these enhancements or whatever, so...
Yeah, and I think you also have to imagine too that like a natural advantage of getting a Switch game and then playing it on Switch 2 is that like if there is like a gimmick or if there is anything about this console that is more convenient, you just get to take advantage of that. So like the idea of like wirelessly docking or whatever, you get to do that now with a Switch game just
Right,
because it's
good
on
point.
Switch 2. So and I think that's almost a selling point in and of itself. But yeah, Mario
Potentially,
Baseball, I kind of see Mario Baseball happening too. And just because I do think that the timing works out, the only thing that's holding me back is that there are already so many freaking Mario games, dude.
Yeah, there's-
like, oh my god.
What's one more, Jake?
And that's the thing. It's like from last year to this year, and I'm like, oh yeah, 3D Mario, new Mario Kart, new Mario Baseball. I'm
know,
like,
it's true.
what's
It's
going
a-
on? Like,
ton.
and I kind of like, and it's not even like, and maybe I've just completely drunk the Kool-Aid, but it's not talking me out of it completely.
Yeah, maybe Mario Baseball is a step too far,
Yeah.
or one of these games.
Zelda
but it is funny to think
Baseball.
about. There we go. That you just rebranded. There we
That'd
go.
be cool.
But I mean, you are right, Jake. There's no way we go this whole year without another Mario game that's unannounced at this point, right? There has to be at least one more. Especially if there's a Switch 2 coming this year. So yeah, there's endless Marios this year.
Wow,
It's the
you're
year
right,
of Mario.
Andre. Honestly, the math is working out because you're right. There has to be at least one. There has to be. And so, and if there's one, can there not be two?
Y'all are insane.
Right,
I mean, it could be
obviously.
like half Mario games. Really, looking
What
at
is the
history,
upper
that's the
limit?
sad thing. Like, it could be half Mario games.
Oh my
Is
god,
there-
dude.
Is there a cap? Is there a limit to how many Mario games you can have?
A cap?
A cappy?
Yes.
I just can't. Oh my god, we're gonna be looking back at this and being like, yes, in 12 months we saw Mario Wonder, Super Mario RPG, the Paper Mario, the new Mario Kart, the new 3D Mario, and Mario Baseball. 12 months, 6 Mario games.
Mario Kart could get around this slightly. Like, they would keep calling it Mario Kart, but they could try making it more like Smash with more characters
Kart.
from the
Ah, that's a good
Nintendo
point,
universe.
Tom. That's a good point.
I'd love to see
People
the
don't want
Captain
that.
Falcon pitching.
Yeah, I love the F-Zero tracks in Mario Kart 8. I mean,
Yeah.
Me
There
too.
we
Oh,
go.
Animal Crossing track. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that one's great too. The different seasons.
Yep, love it.
I have to ask.
Any other-
I have to ask.
Uh-huh.
Do we see a Zelda release? Whether it's on the
I have a
current
prediction
Switch or
about
the
this.
Switch 2? Yes.
So, what's
Give it
your prediction,
away.
Joey?
My prediction is we will get a Zelda remaster or remake of some kind on both Switch and Switch 2. And I hope to God it is finally Tears of the Kingdom, Twilight Princess, and yeah, Tears of the Kingdom 4K, Switch 2, $70.
It's like The Last of Us 2 remastered. It's like Tears of the Kingdom remastered, dude. Yeah.
No, I just really want to play Twilight Princess and Wind Waker again on my Switch. Switch 1, Switch 2, I don't care. It's been 7 years since you launched the Switch. Just give it to us already, Nintendo. Come on, man. Come on.
Okay, I had some thoughts on this, and I'm going to argue that it'll likely be a Wind Waker coming out again. They're kind of riding a bit of a GameCube wave right now, but Twilight Princess, I think they might think that looks a bit similar to Breath of the Wild. I think they want to make sure, like, visually, this is one that people have wanted for a long time. Again, make it more available. Probably doesn't take too long, so the Zelda team can also work on new Zeldas. That's part of my thinking for it. So, well, I would love, like, Link Between Worlds to
yes,
come out
that's
again
a
in
good
some sort of remaster form, or if they were to do, like, take the Link's Awakening engine and just make a brand new Zelda. I think Wind Waker is most likely to meet the launch date and keep the Zelda team free to work on a brand new Zelda.
I get that, Tom, but I love Twilight Princess. And if I don't get Twilight
I
Princess
like
with
Wind
my
Waker
Wind Waker,
more.
I'm
Screw
gonna
your goat
cry.
herding.
Go.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, I think most of the remasters or remakes have been done by other companies like Grezzo, for
Grezzo.
instance, with Link's Awakening. And it's possible we'll see that engine reused for maybe the other Game Boy games this year. So I think Zelda's a possibility. It is weird to think, though, that given Switch seemingly began and possibly ended to a degree with the Zelda. We're going to be waiting for the next big new Zelda for quite some time at this point. So Switch 2 is going to go a while without a brand new 3D Zelda, which is kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, I just think like almost every single year of the Switch, there's been a Zelda release. I think 2022 was like the one that didn't have a Zelda release in it. So I feel like Nintendo's gonna go back and say, all right, let's go back to yearly Zelda releases again, or like for as long as they could, at least.
So do we have like 5 years of remix incoming then?
Yeah.
Remix or remaster?
I hope so.
Honestly, yes, my DS vision is coming to the future. It's happening. I see it now. But yeah, I think I see Wind Waker, Twilight Princess as a Switch game, not a Switch 2 game. I could see those coming out, and they're essentially just the Wii U games on Switch.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
And I kind of think like maybe, there have been rumors of those for a while. I kind of think it is true that they've maybe been sitting on those, and it wasn't the right time to have those come out before Tears of the Kingdom, and now it will be the right time, and it's going to be another game, another remaster, but another game that kind of like helps fill in their schedule this year. I think it'll fit in with everything else, all those Mario remasters and stuff. So yeah, I see that as a Switch game, but I do think like in the future, not year one, we will see Zelda remakes of like the DS and 3DS games on Switch 2. I think that's the well that they'll start to go to. I think A Link Between Worlds is like ripe for a remake. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, they're not going to touch Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks ever.
You don't think so?
No, those are not viewed favorably among the Zelda fans. Like they do have fans of those games, do have fans, of course, but like in the wide spectrum of Zelda games, those are not like the best ones. Those are not the most favorably viewed.
I thought Spirit Tracks was okay received compared to Phantom Hourglass. Phantom Hourglass definitely wasn't. Spirit Tracks was legit great though.
What's the one with the buddies where there's like you're in different colors and it's like a
Triforce Heroes.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
the one before that, the one that was like
Four Swords.
Four Swords Adventures.
Where's that?
Yeah, actually, that'd be a fun one.
That'd be awesome on a modern console. That'd be so cool. Yeah.
I'd love more Four Swords. Four Swords would be great, and like Tears of the Kingdom for building stuff, as I said. Even going back to the old classic style, you could even put more links in now with online. Like it could be a crazy
Zelda
number
99.
of links and like some race through the kingdom. I mean, there's a lot you could do there.
Yeah, well, at the least, it could add freaking A Link to the Past GBA to the NSO service, which would give you access to the first Four Swords adventure, or Four Swords, whatever it was called. And play that online at least, which was a really fun multiplayer experience. So, yeah, I mean, I think co-op Zelda is something that Nintendo hasn't really properly explored yet, and that could be, I mean, beyond the Adventures games, and it'd be fun to see them dabble more in that idea.
I got another big game to talk about if we're ready to move on.
Good.
All right.
Yes.
All right. I love the Mario Kart idea. I'm almost sold on it, of course. But I think that we just got to the end of that booster course pack thing, whatever. And I think maybe that needs a little more time to sit. Just let that be for a while. Maybe the marketing push is that, hey, you get your existing Nintendo Switch subscription with all those courses, and you can play that Mario Kart game on the Switch too. Have a great time. It's not time for Mario Kart. It's been in the headlines for too long.
Yep.
But what's been out of the headlines for a while?
ARMS.
That's true.
Kid Icarus, not Smash Brothers.
Okay, all right. Smash Brothers, Super Smash Brothers.
Is it already?
So here's my thing. I think that Mario Kart and Smash have a relationship now within Nintendo, and I almost see like that there's a way that they work off of each other, and it's like, okay, we're like kind of the online focused game that's getting new updates or whatever.
Yeah.
We use this as like a general marketing push across Nintendo, the same way that like we were doing it with the Booster Course Pass, and we were doing it with like the Fighters Pass reveals and stuff like that. And I almost like, it's almost hard for me to imagine a Nintendo operating without one of these games out in the ether for too long. So, yeah, a new Super Smash Brothers game. And I think like this only happens if this part of it is true. It's more Ultimate. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I think the timeline
Ultimate
makes
Plus.
the timeline makes a lot more sense.
That's true.
Yeah. So because I think there is like a big question on everybody's minds about like how do you continue after Ultimate, and I think like for my taste, I would love if we went back to basics in a way and tried to reinvent Smash with a new vision. But I've just been thinking a little bit about this and just kind of like studying Sakurai as a creator and like looking at his games, looking at how he's treated Smash. I don't see him as that kind of person. And I see him more as an iterative creator. So I just, especially for Smash. So I do kind of think that they're gonna figure out a way to extend Smash Ultimate and put stuff on top rather than break it apart and start from the beginning.
Sakurai did say he's working on games again, Jake, so...
Shocker.
He's working on a new character for Smash Ultimate or something. But no, I mean, I do think that it will. And here's the thing. I think what I'm saying might sound a little like down on Smash, but you have to imagine like the jump from Smash Wii U to Smash Ultimate. When Smash Ultimate was revealed, a lot of people were like, oh my god, this is just a port of Smash Wii U with some extra stuff on top. And it's been able to escape that, you know? Because on top of having like a bunch of little things changed about like the mechanics of the game, it had all that new content coming for years after. And I feel like Smash Ultimate could take a very similar path. I feel like you could change things up just enough that like it does look like a new game if you look close enough at it, but under the hood, a lot of the work is already done.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, which I think it would be, then that's almost an argument to make the next Smash even more different than Ultimate is currently, or you make it so that Ultimate is just a platform again. Like people who have Ultimate have the current Smash Brothers, and that continues to be, you know, just keep updating it. And maybe that's what you're saying. Otherwise, you know, Sakurai, every Smash has, you know, even Smash or Sakurai even considers Smash 3DS and Wii U to be like independent projects. Like he considers them 4 and 5. So I feel like based on Sakurai's history, like it would be more than just more Ultimate. I think it would have to be, unless they, you know, again keep Ultimate the current game and just build on it. I think they would change it to some degree. I don't know, maybe that's what you're saying. There's so many shades of gray in what this could be, you know.
I think the question is,
it's like 50
does the roster persist?
Yeah.
I think that's the question.
Right,
and
okay.
and I like, and for me, I think it's going to. It feels unlikely because of all of the third party like licensing deals that must be a part of that. But I think a lot of speculation when it comes to that is a lot of people just like pretending that they know stuff. And like, I can't, like, I always think about how everybody was like, oh, Sora could never be in Smash because of Disney. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
well,
now he is.
Turns out we don't know anything. So like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Turns out Nintendo has plenty of negotiating power. Who could have guessed? So
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's always about money. And these companies, I assume, are making money off Smash. Why wouldn't they want to make more money off another Smash? You know, if they signed that deal once, to get them signed it again. You know, and yeah, I don't think retaining the roster is impossible. Although Sakurai himself has given the impression that may be difficult to continue on, but you know, who knows?
And it's hard to continue on because of the balancing, right? And he always talks about how you add a new character and you got to balance them against every single other character, and that's a lot of work. But every single thing Sakurai has ever said was impossible, he has done. So it's
Ridley,
he said that the villager would never be in Animal Crossing because they don't fight. Like every game has been an impossible game to make, and then he makes it. And I think that pattern will continue. I think we will see something that is impossible, retaining the Ultimates roster, but giving it new game modes, giving it new single player content, giving it revitalized online functionality. And I think that there's a lot of good stuff to be had if you are able to maintain that Smash Ultimate roster and say, hey, let's focus on the roster in DLC. Let's kind of do what we did with Wii U, add in. How many newcomers were even in base Smash? Like 3? Like it
Not
was
a lot like that, yeah.
It wasn't that, and it's that thing where like now, like you can't imagine anybody whining about Smash Ultimate's roster, so it doesn't matter that much. So it's like, yeah, make a few newcomers, do the rest through DLC, and if they would focus on other content besides characters, that's kind of a good place to be.
Yeah, that's true. I think the biggest argument for why we do need a new Smash is just the online. They have to add rollback finally, and that'll make it, you know, without updating the original game, they'd be incompatible with it. So, yeah, that's the same thing I want. Myself, I mean, unless they continue on with Ultimate as is, I'm not expecting a new Smash for at least another couple of years, in my opinion. But hey, I could be wrong. So they have tended. I mean, to your credit, Jake, they do tend to launch fairly early into the system's life cycle. So.
And it has been a while since Smash Ultimate's DLC was done, and just based on how Smash games have worked before, it would not surprise me if they started developing the next Smash while they were still working on DLC for Ultimate. So it's so the timeline's like almost there.
But Sakurai was busy making all those YouTube videos, Jake. Where did he have time to work on Smash?
Dude, could you imagine new Smash Brothers game, no Sakurai?
I'm fine with it.
It's possible.
Dude, that would be, honestly, that would be titillating to the max. because so much of Smash's identity is wrapped up in Sakurai. To have a Sakurai-less Smash, like, what if it's good? Like,
what if?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's a risk. Like, I don't want. Go ahead, Jake.
Just people need to understand, like a series doesn't live and die by its creator. Like,
people don't understand that.
They really don't. Sometimes
Jake's classes are off.
Sometimes things are better without the original creator, God of War. But yeah.
Well,
it could be worse, could be better, but Sakurai could be freed up to work on other things too.
Yep.
Sorry,
I
Tom,
want him to work on other things.
Yeah, free. That's what I was saying. It would be exciting that Sakurai gets to work on a new project, get to see something new from him.
Like Kid Icarus Uprising 2?
Exactly.
Please.
Well, that's the thing. The studio could be working on that and Smash Brothers. You could get Kid Icarus very soon because that's a port or a remaster. Or like,
right.
Maybe those two screens flipping, but and then you always get a long-term carrot with these systems. Like for a long time, we had Tears of the Kingdom on Switch. Now there's no carrot on this new system. You could. Smash is a series, like a game that they announced before even asking Sakurai to make it in the past. They could say, you will get a new Smash Bros. Later on, and it is 2 years off. Like that is a possibility they could do to help sell.
They've done that before, I think, as you said. Yeah. So
Tom, that's a good point, because especially with Smash, they do like the rollout, the PR, the before launch, doing like checking in with Smash like a million times. So yeah, I could see that too. Man, that's a good carrot. I wouldn't be mad about that either. Some of my fondest gaming memories are waking up and checking the dojo for Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
You're never getting that magic back, though, Jake.
No, I know, but I was also the perfect age, like literally. So it was. Oh, you should have seen me running to school and be like, Pokemon trainer on the blog. It was.
People don't understand. Like, we didn't need a full trailer back then. Seeing those paragraphs and the pictures was enough. In fact, possibly better, because like you could have. It was left to your imagination as to how they were going to play. And it was amazing. So.
One other quick point, Sakurai's video about where he announced making games said creators can change. Maybe he feels he's changed to a spot where he can trust somebody in charge of Smash Brothers, which I believe he said he tried in the past and it didn't work out.
Good point. It's possible. That'd be interesting.
Cool.
Man, we're just gonna analyze every past video Sakurai's made, like look for little clues as to what he meant by this or that.
We have to move on because I could talk about this forever.
Yes, we will. Okay.
I literally have so many thoughts, and I don't want to subject you to them.
That'll be a whole other video, Jake. How we've been wanting to do that, so maybe we'll talk about it later. Yeah. Okay, Pokemon. Anything Pokemon happening?
Yes.
Any Pokemon predictions?
Yes, there has to be a new Pokemon game. Everyone is going to be so depressed because they will announce it, and it's not for Switch 2. It will not come to Switch 2. There will not be a Switch 2 version.
Right.
It will be a Switch game, and it will not benefit from being on Switch 2. It will not see increased frame rate. None of the Pokemon games will. And this will, and it won't matter. It will sell a bajillion copies. and I'm just telling you, this is how they operate, and it's okay. I'm not even mad about it. But yeah, I honestly think that the more exciting thing for Pokemon will be that in late February on Pokemon Day, I am almost 100% sure that they will announce the Game Boy games coming to Nintendo Switch on.
All right, hey, that'd be good. Finally, after all this time.
Yeah, the 3DS is donezo. There were 3DS ports of those games on Virtual Console. They had a whole system linked to it with the Pokemon Bank, how you could transfer the Pokemon forward. Now, like, that whole thing is kaput. So I just think it makes sense that they would want to have something like that. I imagine your Nintendo Switch Online subscription and all of these for lack of a better term, virtual console games. I imagine that will carry over into the Switch 2. So effectively, I do think you will be able to play Pokemon Red and Blue on your Switch 2, which is not nothing.
It isn't. That's true. It is not nothing.
That's like, I'll do it. Like, so, you know, I think that'll low key, it'll be kind of cool because you'll have that available on your Switch too. So, yeah.
All right. So, are you excited for Pokemon next year, Jake, or this year, Jake?
Yeah. So here's the deal. I'm hoping that the next game that they announce, no matter where it is, you know, we just had Scarlet and Violet, but the Pokemon game we had before that was Pokemon Legends Arceus. And I really liked Pokemon Legends Arceus. They like lit me up in a way that Pokemon hasn't lit me up since I was a kid. And like reactivated what it was like to explore and discover. Something that I think a Pokemon game has really struggled to do since some of the really old ones for me and my taste. And if like the next Pokemon game gets announced and the word Legends is part of its title, I am over the moon. And I like to imagine that it's like that there's like, you know, Legends team over here and Scarlet and Violet team over here. And like, obviously they help each other out as you get closer to their release dates. But like, I think a lot of people are seeing some stuff in Scarlet and Violet that looks like seeds of ideas and are like, oh my God, this is going to be capitalized on in the next Pokemon game. And I'm going, no. It will be capitalized in the next Pokemon game. You need to relax. First, we got to do Legends again. And so I'm hoping that the stuff that really worked in Legends reappears in Pokemon's 2024 game. And I think it has a pretty good chance of working out that way. So I am excited. It's also an exciting time in the remake schedule for me. The last remakes were the Diamond and Pearl games, which I have never liked. So I like when those rolled around, I was like, oh, blah, blah. But the next ones now are the Gen 5 games, Black and White. And like whenever we get to those, that's going to be exciting for me personally. I really like those games. And there have also been some rumors of maybe some Gen 2 stuff going on. And I really like Gen 2 as well. So there's all these different doors that Pokemon can walk in right now. And for me and my tastes, I'm like, okay, just go through one of the doors. Okay, like please do not invent a fourth door.
Well, we may be finding out pretty soon, right? They usually have a Pokemon Presents early into the year.
Yeah, February, Pokemon Day, late February. So that's 100% when we'll learn about whatever the big stuff is, and where I assume we'll learn about the Pokemon games coming to NSO. So. Yeah.
Do you think we'll hear anything about, I guess this would technically have been our last discussion, but we're talking about it here. Would you think we will have heard about, or we'll hear anything more about Detective Pikachu 2, the movie that seems to be in development?
It's only because I think it's too early. I imagine, and just based on like stuff with the writer's strike and where everything is right now, I imagine when they talk about that movie, they'll want to have something to show for it. So if they do talk about it, it'll be, we're making it, and here's a logo. But I think 2025, you'll see something for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other game predictions? Anyone?
New Kirby.
All right.
New Kirby, yeah. Oh,
New Kirby.
Yeah. What a safe bet.
If it was a Forgotten Land 2,
that'd be amazing.
Just I will wait as long as I need to for Forgotten Land 2. That's the only Kirby series I care about.
I anticipate this year's Kirby will be on the level of Dream Buffet. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for like a $60 game. I'm looking for like a Kirby Fighters. You know what I mean?
Like an online focus.
Yeah, I think something goofy like that. I think just based on how popular the beginning of the year is for Nintendo already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just need a goofy one where you go around in little flying vehicles around a city, like go through different trials. That's all I ask with 99 players.
For some weird reason, it only uses one button, and you're like, man, this would be so much better if it used more buttons.
That's the gimmick, only one button.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that's what Sakurai meant by he changed. We get a 2-button
Could you imagine
Kirby's,
Nintendo Switch
trial.
2 controller comes out, and it's just one button?
Yeah, I would respect that.
It's like a tactile button depending on where you press it. It's like different buttons, but instead of 4, it's like 20.
It looks like one button. It's actually 8 million buttons.
And if you taste it for the Nintendo tongue, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Tiny little prediction I want to throw out there in case it actually happens. I look smart, but it probably won't. We had, of course, Advance Wars made by WayForward. There's 2 of them. I believe another Code Recollection. That's like 2 games. This game in the past only designed for North America and Europe. it'd be really cool if we heard late in the year WayForward making a remaster of Star Tropics 1 and 2.
I knew you were going to say Star
bring that
Tropics
back.
for some reason.
I don't think everyone has the same nostalgia with me for Star Tropics, but that's an old one that I'd like to see next on the remaster.
This
jump.
legit might be the most insane predictions anyone's ever made on one of our
More
upcoming
insane
years.
than Earthbound or Mother 3.
Yes, I am saying that. No one talks about Star Tropics.
Tom, the way you said it, I was just like with you the whole time. I was just like, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. But now Andre's bringing me back to reality. Yeah, that's
It's Switch. It's on both Switch and Switch 2, Jake, so it can make financial
Okay,
sense.
there you go.
Okay.
Well, that's how you build up a new market for it. Perfect.
I got a little prediction for you.
Okay.
A new console is coming to Nintendo Switch Online, and
That'd be
Which
a dream.
one?
it is the Nintendo DS.
Okay.
Yes. And
How does this work?
like the Wii U.
Right.
Yes.
So okay. So you pretty much play on the handheld then?
Yeah,
Or
so you can do
primarily on the
both.
handheld?
You can do both. Yeah, so like the Wii U, there was a way I think to have like on your TV, there was like the big screen and the small screen, and they were like both just there. And
Yeah.
I imagine that they'll have like a Joy-Con pointer solution maybe for the touchscreen part of it.
That'd be so horrible.
Yeah, I think it'll kind of suck. And then I think you'll see how it works on the Switch 2, and you'll go, oh my god, I need that.
There we go.
Yeah, I do think Nintendo DS kind of makes sense, just because if you look at like the games and the schedule, it's more similar than not. The Switch NSO stuff has followed what the Wii U did with Virtual Console, and I think a lot of people are always like, oh, GameCube's gonna come to this thing, and I'm like, no, you're crazy. That's never happened.
Not yet. They're remaking those territories.
Yeah, and like maybe. I agree, they're remaking them, but like maybe if they ever did, that would be a Switch 2 thing for sure. Like just based on the size of those games alone. But yeah, I do think DS makes sense, and I do think it's like maybe the last thing we could really get on the normal Switch. And I think it would kind of be like, I think it would kind of work for them announcement-wise to have a cute thing where they go, and you can still play these games on your Switch, but obviously this experience is better on the Switch too.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm down for it. There's been a lot of DS games I've been wanting to revisit without having to pull out my actual DS.
Dude,
so.
the DS games, every single one that came to that service, I would be hyped about. Every single one.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a library that's like hard to go back to, just because you like have to literally get a D. You know what I mean? It's not like other games. So yeah, and it would just be cool to have like, you know, the N64 games, like they're so much nicer just because of the resolution and the frame rate. Like GoldenEye's a whole different. There's a degree to which like some DS games, I'm like, man, it would be cool to just have this on like an OLED screen, just like looking nice right there. So, you know.
Oh, they could bring Elite Beat Agents and Owen Dan
my
1 and 2
goodness.
that are like the Japanese ones of them. You could have 3 of them on it.
They did selfishly. They Virtual Console, Wii U, Nintendo DS game. They somehow made it work. They got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I can't believe that they actually put it on the Virtual Console on Wii U. It gives me hope that if there was a DS Virtual Console thing, NSO thing on a Switch console, that I could go back, play that game again. Oh my god, I would be hyped out of my mind. Yeah.
All right, we've talked a lot about games. I want to make a prediction for something non-game related, at least directly, and that is, given the news we had recently, I believe this year we're going to have the cast of the Zelda movie announced. They're going to announce who's playing Link, who's playing Zelda, who's playing Ganondorf. They're going to reveal that, because this stuff always leaks early, and if they want to get ahead of the game, they're going to have to tell us who they are, especially in the, you know, with it involving live action filming. So I predict we will see that this year.
Yes. Yes. It will be headshots. It will be 100%.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
you're
all
100% right. And it's the way that they did the Mario movie totally tells that you're right. They don't want it to be leaked out. They want to have that moment and just announce it and all that kind of stuff. Because it's funny, you started to talk and I was like, we're definitely not going to hear about this because this movie's not coming out till 2027 at least.
Yep.
But you're right. They will do that because they don't care. They'll you wait. See you in 2027.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it works. I think Nintendo or movies in general work different from how Nintendo does in the gaming space. I think Nintendo realizes that, And because the Mario movie was announced half a decade before it came out, if not more. So I think even longer than that. But
I might have been being too harsh with 27. Maybe 27's too far. Maybe 26.
Yeah.
27.
But-
yeah.
Easy way to keep it the movie momentum. And with the Mario movie, like some of the smaller roles are kind of talking about being in the movie. It kind of would nip that in the bud. Like they were talking about being in the movie. Like what was that? The Spikes?
before there were Sebastian something.
Maniscalco.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I don't think it's
good
happening
point.
this year. It'll like the way you said it was going to happen. It will happen like that. They'll show up in a direct and be like, "Here's the cast." That's not happening this year. I think they're going to take a really long time to figure out how to get this story right, and casting's not on their list of priorities right now.
Oh, see, Joey, I feel like they attach somebody to this thing immediately. I feel like that's part of the movie getting made, is that they want some person, you know what I mean? And then maybe part of the story is like written with this person in the leading role in mind. So like, I think Zelda and Link, we maybe get them really early. I don't know.
Maybe
but,
maybe partial cast. Yeah, maybe. Even with the Mario movie, we didn't announce everyone.
No.
I mean, even of the major characters. So
They announced
that'd be interesting.
pretty much everyone. Yeah,
Jack
they did.
Black is Ganon.
Yes.
Actually, I guess they did, didn't they? Wasn't there one or two characters they didn't talk about? Oh, the main
Not really. They talked about even
Yeah, maybe it was.
comic
They even had
and-
Cranky there, didn't they?
They did, yeah. And like every other character that was in there, like Diddy Kong, they were just very small cameos voiced by actual voice actors. But yeah,
Anything else? Any other predictions at all for Nintendo 2024?
The Switch 2 will have colored buttons.
nice.
Yes,
Jake, you already
there it
predicted
is.
that.
I predict the Mario movie 2 will be announced. They will officially say
oh, yeah.
it's coming. Fine. I'm surprised I didn't already confirm it. So I feel like it's just a shoo-in. Like it will be revealed. Like yes, we are working on a sequel because obviously.
Right.
I have a bet related to this, Joey. 4 movies in the Nintendo Cinematic Universe will be announced at the same time.
Oh my god.
That's a good one.
Oh,
They
wow.
will, yes, they are looking over at Disney and they're going, Marvel Cinematic Universe, bleh. And then they, all right, and then directly after that, they go, here are 4 Nintendo movies. Yeah.
Could you imagine how hyped that would be, though, if they just, like, laid out their full movie plans for years? That would be so freaking hype.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something that they want to do. Just the way that the Nintendo brand and the business is going,
Right.
I kind of think that the reason that they would do this is because I kind of think it's how the deal is being made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're signing a contract with some studio, especially after the success of the Mario movie, likely Illumination, for it's not one movie. They're signing for several movies. So, like, if you're making this deal all at the same time, a lot of these things are in different levels of pre-production. Why not announce them all at the same time?
I 100% they're making a Splatoon movie. I guarantee you we see an Illumination Splatoon film
Man, that's a good
at
one.
some point with
Yeah.
next
I
decade.
guess
Split-
the yeah.
Sorry, what, Tom?
Well, this thinking about the different music of Splatoon and stuff, how they would do that in a movie, like the trendiness of it. Yeah, that'd be a great choice. Better than I would love to see a Pikmin movie, but it'd be more entertaining.
Pikmin's higher up on the list than you think. I guarantee it's higher up on the list. Miyamoto's over there.
Yeah, well, he's the one overseeing the movie. It's like
Right.
I was guessing, should I predict a new, like, one last Miyamoto game? Like, no, I think he's too busy with the theme parks and movies to be doing that, and he really wants to hand off the reins. So.
Star Fox. Boom. Easy.
If you want to make Star Fox relevant, a movie might not be the worst way to
I
attempt
really
that.
think so
but-
too, because it's just like, if it's 3D animated, there's talking animals and there's space fights. That's like, honestly, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of people who've never even heard of Star Fox say, hey, I'm gonna take my kids to see this. Easy.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think they have a good model in Star Fox. And this is so lame. Forgive me for saying this, but I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is just like a
Yes.
good model for
It
how to
is.
do
Yeah,
a
it is.
Star. You know what I mean? It's like it's right there. It's
Get Chris
like
Pratt
even in
to play Star Fox.
like even in the marketing and like literally everything about that movie, you could just
And, you know, we already know what the story would be. It'd just be Star Fox 64 for the 5th time.
That's right. Then you could get the Star Fox, the the movie, the game, that's the same game that's Star Fox 64 again.
Brilliant,
So
exactly, brilliant.
Yeah.
See, we got this. Love it. No, like seriously, like I think there is a lot of potential there, and it might be a smart path for Star Fox. The bigger issue actually is Nintendo just figuring out what the hell is Star Fox. Like I think they said things to the effect before. I mean, I forget what they said before. Point is, they don't know what to do with the series. They just keep rebooting it, as I've just said, and they need to figure that out. If you want to capitalize on a movie for the IP, what is Star Fox the game? You can't just keep remaking the same game again over and over, especially after the relative failure of Star Fox Zero. So
It's funny, there are also two Nintendo IP that I think, like, just because of how easily they lend themselves to movie archetypes, I think might be more likely than not. And the two I'm thinking of are, I think F-Zero, just like a racing movie, makes sense.
yeah.
And Punch-Out, actually. And Punch-Out, I think, would be tougher just because you'd have to do more legwork in redesigning and rewriting things, because those people that he's fighting are not going to fly.
Yeah,
And
the caricature is
I
a
was
little
gonna
more
say,
kid,
like, you'd have to remove the racism, or
Right,
like
but I
almost
think,
borderline racism.
yeah, but I do think that you could make you know what I mean, that like archetype of like a boxing movie of like a Rocky type
Rocky,
of
yep.
there's almost something compelling about that to me, actually. Like I think there are enough elements in Punch-Out that are like nice little iconic visual things. Him in the pink jumpsuit. Just, you know what I mean, like Doc as a character. There's like stuff there that you could work with that I think is iconic and lends itself to a movie.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it does. I wonder if that fits with Nintendo's view of how they look at the movies, which is raising brand awareness in general. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't see Nintendo having a plan for Punch-Out. Like, it's a movie, it's a one and done, and there's no more games. If there is, there'll be like a game, and that's it again.
Can I tell you what I think it is? I genuinely am like, I kind of believe in this idea that we're working up to a movie that is at least called Super Smash Brothers. I do believe in that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think like there's gonna be some fighting focused people, or you know, So I can kind of like see a vision for it where it's setting an expectation or establishing somebody who is a fighter at least.
Well, you know, maybe you can have this Punch-Out movie take place in the Mario universe, but they have the Punch-Out Pizzeria suggesting these are real characters in that universe. So maybe that's how you bring him in. He makes a cameo in the Mario movie.
100%. Mario shows up, makes a cameo. He's a referee for a fight.
There we go. Hey, yeah, perfect.
Yep.
I think with some of these brands, like, do they have to be a movie? Could it be like home release more? Like Star Fox, I almost feel like it'd be better as a 13 or 26 episode series, because you get the overarching theme, but then he's traveling to all sorts of different planets as one-off episodes in between, like stuff like that. Is something I almost like to see more.
Can I tell you something, Tom? I get where you're coming from. I think that would make sense to most people in the business. I actually, having been around it and having worked in it, there is a little bit of a people on the outside might not realize this, like a business cultural divide with the movie and the TV people, and the movie stuff is seen as a little more like prestige and important. And I almost feel like there's an energy at Nintendo where they want the big movie. They want the, you know, they don't want that little Knuckles TV show. They don't,
No, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Especially for a series that doesn't have the brand strength of Mario or Zelda, you know, like I don't know if it has enough of a market to sustain, or I don't know if a TV show would expand that demographic enough to be worth it.
Sure. Yeah.
But who knows? All right, we've talked about a lot in 2024. How are we feeling overall now? Now that we've speculated endlessly with our hopes, predictions, and largely hopes, how are we feeling? Because, you know, you look at what we know about Nintendo, and it looks good, but also kind of limited. You know, it's a lot of Mario, a lot of remakes, a lot of remasters, only one entirely new game there. But then you look at the potential of everything we don't know that we've spent an hour and a half now discussing. How are we feeling, you know, about the Switch 2, about potential lineup, about potential unannounced games for either platform? What are you thinking?
Really good.
Yep.
You know what this discussion has made clear to me? Something I keep telling myself in my head now is, Jake, Nintendo is going to have a big year, the year after the Mario movie comes out.
Yeah.
Wrap your head around that. And now, what does a big year for Nintendo look like? I think this is gonna be a big year in games. I was just talking to Adam actually about like how he doesn't know what games he's gonna play in the first couple months of the year because there's across all platforms, there's so much stuff coming out. And I think like it's so much easier to sell me on Nintendo having a big, impressive year, the year following the Mario movie, than it is for me to believe that they're gonna have like this like poopy year where we're just waiting for the Switch 2 to come out and like I'm playing Luigi's Mansion 2 for 6 months. So I am optimistic, I think. And I'm really optimistic actually. I think it's gonna be a good year.
Yep. I look at the stuff we do know, and now that I think about it more, I'm just like, this isn't that like impressive. Like, yeah, I'm interested. Like I said earlier, I am interested in playing most of these games, but like it's nothing like Game of the Year material. Rather, there's something coming. I feel like I kind of also feel like we said this last year, and there was no new console or anything. But I feel like this year, especially after coming off of that Mario movie, after coming off of Tears of the Kingdom, after coming off of Mario Wonder, especially. They're building up to some big, huge reveal for this next console this year. Whether it comes out this year, the jury's still out on that, but you've all given me pretty good reasons as to why it probably will come out this year around maybe this holiday season or right before it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, like, even the next Direct. Like, what are they going to talk about? If they don't talk about much, that's just even more confirmation that something's happening.
It's like, so, how's the weather?
They say it's a mini, and we all go, ha ha ha.
Yes. Yeah, we actually want to see a mini now. Give me that 5-minute Direct.
Oh my god.
I'll say that, more relaxed first half of the year. Get a couple nice titles in there. Just the potential of seeing a fantastic new gimmick that may create a new trend for the gaming industry, like what we've seen with Steam Deck and other competitors lately, and the likelihood of having one or two like really huge games coming out with the Switch 2 launch, like a Mario and possibly a Metroid Prime 4. That's something to always look forward to, and just what other unique spin-off smaller title they might have to go with the gimmick.
Yeah. I think what's exciting about this year is Nintendo's in a position of strength. Like, they are doing, I think, the best they've ever done, really. And that's something that they haven't had in a while, assuming this is, in fact, a year they're moving on to another platform. Usually they're, like, in a position of, either they're coming off like a system that's clearly cooling down, or there's fierce competition for them that they just can't compete at that level during that era. And we don't have that now, again, assuming Switch 2 is this year. And that's what's really exciting, is because even if the first half of this year seems to be like a little soft, the second half of the year could completely make up for that. And to the point that, what is now a year full of Mario games and remakes, and could be perceived as being weaker if the second half of the year doesn't back it up. I'm not too worried about that. I think it will. I think Switch 2 probably is coming. And I think this year is going to be something that could end up being really exciting, even if we can't quite see that fully right now based on what's officially announced. I think it could be something that's a really, truly special year. But hey, maybe I'm wrong, maybe off base. Switch 2 has been rumored forever and it hasn't happened yet. So we'll see for sure. But I do think, I think if you look at the signs and read the tea leaves, I think it's shaping up to be a really fun, exciting year. And I can't wait to see how much of our predictions actually end up being true or not, because if even half what we talked about comes true, it's going to be an amazing year. Now, if none of it comes true, then we'll have something else to discuss a year from now at the end of in our 2024 year in review discussion. So, anyways, based with that, everyone, I think we're done here. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed our 2.5 collective hours of discussing Nintendo 2024. Let us know what you think. Do you think our predictions are accurate? Are we off base? We want to hear your thoughts on what you think and what you expect might happen for Nintendo. Are you excited? Are you worried? Let us know in the comments below. With that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you throughout the rest of the year. Bye, everyone.
Smash Brothers.